Daenerys' Queensguard is a pretty complicated topic, mainly because of the conflicting information within the books, which is strange considering it's all written by the same guy. I mean, Jorah Mormont has some mistakes slipped through here and there, but this one is a little different. Before I start, I want to thank the sponsor of this video, the guys who make the most modern wallet out there, Ridge. If you want to cut out all that fat from your old leather wallet, you should check their website out. It's got the minimalistic look with durable materials that make it last for life. You get a lifetime warranty too, and they ship everywhere. Check out their different styles at ridgewallet.com/whycreate. My code whycreate will save you 10% off after you pick the one that suits you. Going back to the conflicting information from A Song of Ice and Fire series, the chapters are written in the point of view of a number of different prominent characters, and characters' thoughts can be unreliable. In this case, Sir Barristan Selmy claims Daenerys never set up a proper Queensguard to protect her in the last book that came out, A Dance with Dragons. But 2 books prior, within the appendix at the end, Daenerys' proper Queensguard is literally stated. While all 7 slots are not, 5 out of 7 guards sounds like an established Queensguard. This was before Barristan revealed his true identity to Daenerys, but he would soon be appointed as a Lord Commander, already the second man to fill this role in just a couple years. But for some reason, Jorah Mormont has written Barristan in a way that doesn't acknowledge the rest of the Sworn Brothers. In the 55th chapter of A Dance with Dragons, ironically called the Queensguard, Barristan says, during his very own POV chapter, Daenerys had never established a proper Queensguard, even for herself, nor issued any commands in respect to her consort. The world was simpler when you had a Lord Commander to decide such matters, Selmy reflected. Now I am the Lord Commander, and it's hard to know which path is right. We don't get to see when exactly this happened, his appointment to the Queensguard that is, but it's sometime at the beginning of her stay at Meereen. But we are there when she decides to form a Queensguard of her own, before Barristan ever set eyes on her. Right before putting her dead husband, Khal Drogo, to rest and joining him in the funeral pyre, Dany accepts her role as a queen. "Sir Jorah Mormont," she said, "first and greatest of my knights, I have no bride gift to give you, but I swear to you, one day you shall have from my hands a long sword like none the world has ever seen, dragon-forged and made of Valyrian steel, and I would ask for your oath as well." "You have it, my queen," Sir Jorah said, kneeling to lay his sword at her feet. "I vow to serve you, to obey you, to die for you if need be. Whatever may come, whatever may come. I shall hold you to that oath. I pray you never regret the giving of it." Then he lifted him to his feet, stretching on her toes to reach his lips. She kissed the knight gently and said, "You are the first of my Queensguard." Unbeknownst to her at the time, Sir Jorah was the informer sending the Iron Throne all the info on her and her brother Viserys. He stopped a while back after falling in love with his khaleesi, but soon after Barristan arrives to aid in Daenerys' conquest, he forces Jorah to admit to being the spy. She intends on forgiving him at first, but after considering how much he shared with Varys, she changes her mind and tells him she'll have him killed if she ever sees him again. As Lord Commander of her Queensguard, he did do a pretty good job though, as short-lived as it was. He did save her from a poisoner in Vos Dothraki, even though the assassin was only there because of his information. Jorah really showed off his guarding skills when fighting off one of Khal Drogo's best men. Jorah kills Kothel after he attempts to stop the blood magic ritual. This is easily his biggest feat as Dany's Lord Commander. The other 4 names stated in the appendix of A Storm of Swords is Jago, Aggo, Rakharo, and Strong Belwas. The first 3 names being very Dothraki if you didn't notice, though even the last guy has a pretty exotic name. Right after Dany married Khal Drogo, he assigns her 4 personal guards to watch over her and protect her. A khaleesi's guard is called her Khas. 3 of the young warriors are Jago, Aggo, and Rakharo, but the 4th member of her Khas died trying to protect Dany in that same blood magic ritual when trying to heal Drogo. After Daenerys makes her intentions known about becoming the queen of the 7 kingdoms, she asked her Khas to follow her. She gave them extravagant gifts that were once given to her, and while they accept the gift, all 3 refused to follow her. But after the dragons were born, they were all on board. Jago was given a whip with a silver handle, Aggo a double-curved dragon-bone bow, and Rakharo a great Arak with the hilt and blade chasing gold. An Arak is that curved blade a Dothraki commonly fight with. Even though all 3 are stated to be a part of her Queensguard, the transition from Khas doesn't happen anywhere in the story. They are exceptionally skilled, but they really are just killers, not guards trained to protect the queen. While they may be loyal beyond a doubt, the savage Dothraki upbringing makes them have the exact opposite characteristics you would normally find in a chivalrous knight. That last name on the list, Strong Belwas, is the fun one of the group. Barristan will always be the badass, but Belwas makes every chapter he's in more enjoyable. Illyrio, that rich guy in Pentos who looked after Dany and Viserys for a while, sent his fighting slave to Dany in order to have some reliable protection. Belwas travels from Pentos with Barristan, who was hiding his identity, pretending to just be a squire for Belwas named Arstan. Even Belwas had no idea who he truly was. Belwas shows no sign of trauma from his horrible childhood. He's a eunuch just like the Unsullied, and born and raised to fight for others' entertainment. In the fighting pits of Meereen, all matches are to the death, and for him to have a reputation big enough that wealthy people wanted him in their employment says a lot about his skill. He claims to have never lost a battle, and the fact that he's still alive after making it out of the fighting pits may validate this claim. He also fights within a rock, and has this cocky habit of allowing his opponent to cut him once before attacking them. I'm sure the viewers of the fighting pits loved his showmanship. We actually get to see him back up all his talk in the third book. Right before Daenerys took Meereen, the city's champion challenged her forces to a fight in single combat to settle the conflict. Jago, Aggo, and Rakaro all began fighting amongst themselves for the honor, but Dany instead went with the new follower, Belwas. Her former cause were too young and valuable to sacrifice here, but Belwas was nothing to her yet. He happily took on the fighter, even letting him get the first cut in, as is custom. But Belwas quickly turned the fight around and decapitated his opponent, then proceeds to defecate in the city's direction and cleans himself up with the challenger's cloak. This event led him to being amongst her Queensguard. When Jorah is removed amongst the ranks, it's Belwas who dragged him out. He's built like the typical bulky security guard. Dany thinks he's 3 times the size of her. And still, out of all these fighters, Barristan is the most impressive, even as a senior citizen. The moment he meets Daenerys, he saves her from a hired assassin sent to kill her, fighting with only a wooden staff, to keep up his old man image, though he's far from the average grandpa. In his early 60s, he still moves with speed and strength, with the knowledge of countless battles, making him a master swordsman. Before Barristan Selmy is even admitted to the Queensguard, he really shows up Jorah, doing a better job than all the other Queensguard. He only reveals his true identity to Dany after saving her yet again. A commander of a sellsword company tries to take her out while pretending to be one of her loyal followers. But Barristan, with his wooden stick, makes sure that doesn't happen. No one could believe a regular old man could take out this dangerous commander unarmed, so he comes clean. Dany at first is upset from all the deceit, but easily forgives Barristan since he has been risking his life to protect her ever since joining her side. He's actually been protecting Targaryens for 3 generations now, starting as one of King Jaehaerys' Kingsguard, Dany's grandfather, then a member of the Mad King's Kingsguard, and now Dany's Queensguard as her Lord Commander. Even Jorah, who hates Barristan for all his judgmental stares, recognizes Barristan Selmy as a living legend in Westeros. He says everyone knows his name and face. His list of feats goes on during his long life serving the Targaryen family, but he fears he won't live long enough to have true knights defending his queen. So he's been teaching young fighters in Meereen the way of Westerosi knighthood, so Daenerys could one day have a proper Queensguard. Dozens of his students show promise, with many more unable to keep up with his rigorous training methods. One kid in particular standing out, a former fighting slave in Meereen named Tumco Lo, going as far as calling him the best natural swordsman he's seen since Jaime Lannister. Huge praise. With the books still so far from having Dany land on Westeros, it's looking unlikely that all her Queensguard will survive until the journey there. Strong Belwas just barely survived a poisoning attempt on Dany's food, and has taken a lot of his size and strength from him. Jorah will obviously be joining her once again, but it would also be interesting to have her appoint some new members from the 7 Kingdoms, actual knights with familiar faces. A character like Garland Tyrell, who's one of the best swordsmen in the current story, would be nice, since he hasn't been given much attention yet. And if the books will head in a similar direction as Game of Thrones, Brienne would be a cool addition as well. But there's so many options. And there will probably be a lot of vacant spots, since the 3 Dothraki members are pretty dispensable considering they don't fit the role well. As far as the lore behind the Queensguard, Dany isn't the first to form one. Her ancestor, Rhaenyra Targaryen, 170 years back, formed one of her own, but didn't live long enough to truly serve as a queen herself. So they really just were a Queensguard in name, to be honest. I guess you can say the name about Dany, because she barely has a hold over Meereen as its ruler. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see y'all soon with something else to talk about.